with you on this. What happens to the white Democrat business person in the eastern part of North Carolina, and what happens to the influence that they have, let's face it, historically had in this state for a long time?
Yeah, well, I think one of the stories of the shift in politics in North Carolina is that those rural districts, particularly the majority white rural districts, are becoming increasingly Republican. And Democratic strength is growing in the metropolitan areas. And the metropolitan areas would dominate state politics were it not for the two-party competition between Democrats and Republicans, so that the metro areas don't speak with one political voice, but they are divided within themselves. But the Democratic Party is becoming much more the metropolitan party in this state, and particularly in the east, the white rural districts are becoming increasingly Republican.
How does that pan out in South Carolina?
It sounds like they've seen something of what we've seen. When you get to the state house districts, whether it be the House or the Senate, particularly the Senate, we had a lot of districts that had lost population. More of the rural, traditionally Democratic seats had lost population. And
to what? To the urban centers?
To the urban centers. And if you look at the places that it looks like gain seats, you've got Coastal and you've got York County, which is right below Charlotte. But the bottom line is some of those districts had lost population, and it was extremely difficult, from what I was told by the folks who were actually working on the maps, to draw the maps, to get enough people in certain districts. And you had some members of the General Assembly whose districts had grown dramatically, and they had to lose substantial numbers of people in order to get the numbers right, and others who were desperately clamoring for enough folks to continue to fill their districts. We had a little bit of folks getting put in districts against each other, incumbents getting put in districts against each other. Some of that, there are some issues, I think, that will emerge, and it'll all really turn out in the next election as to really what the effect of this was. But you've got a question as to whether or not some white Democrats can survive in the districts that were drawn for them. But by and large, I think from the state house perspective, probably nibbling around the edges. I don't think the redistricting is going to change the numbers that dramatically. The Republicans have a pretty solid majority in both houses. I think you may see some nibbling along the edges. The real fight in South Carolina was the congressional district.
I just want to add that I think that in North Carolina, this has the opportunity to fundamentally change the state's politics, where you've seen in the past, as you alluded to.
You mean internal to the politics, Jonathan, or external to what North Carolina means to the national?
Internal in North Carolina, who is going to be the next governor of North Carolina, who are going to be our statewide elected leaders, who are going to be our federal representatives. I think white Southern Democrats, traditionally moderate or conservative Democrats, have done well in North Carolina statewide politics. They've won the governor's mansion. They've been attorney general. They've been lieutenant governors. They've won U.S. Senate seats. And with this shift of population towards the urban areas, and with the Republicans controlling the redistricting process and drawing these new boundaries, where rural districts now are going to be more Republican, and urban districts are tending to become more divided between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats tend to have a little bit of an edge there. You're going to have a Democratic Party, I think, that mirrors more South Carolina's Democratic Party, where it's dominated by urban white Democrats and African-American rural Democrats. And whether or not they'll be able to cobble together a coalition to create majorities in the General Assembly, I think, is going to be more difficult than it has been in the past.